Just when I thought I was doing good without any major issues, I fucked up. So this is supposed to go behind the camshaft pulley, and I totally forgot about it. So now I gotta take that back off and get this installed. Welcome back. Today's gonna be an ambitious day. I wanna finish up the timing side, and then I wanna get the engine onto the floor so we can get the clutch and the transmission installed. And then we're gonna see if we can get this bad boy back in the car. We're gonna start by getting the mount bracket back on, and then we're gonna do the timing cover, and then we'll get the engine on the ground and start working on the clutch and transmission. If you guys noticed, I was struggling to get the cover on and keeping this gasket in place. So I looked it up, and the trick I found is if you put a very thin coating of silicone inside it, it will hold the gasket in place and allow you to put the cover on without the gasket falling off. So I went ahead and did that, and yeah, gasket stayed on. So this is supposed to go behind the camshaft pulley, and I totally forgot about it. So now I gotta take that back off and get this installed. I took it all back out. I have the backing of the timing cover back on now, and new gaskets installed behind it. And now I'm gonna put it back together again. You know, I expected this kind of stuff to happen, but it still sucks. Now that we have it on for the second time, let's test it together to make sure the timing is correct. So we're just gonna take our breaker bar, put it on the crankshaft, and we're gonna do Actually, I think it was 2 revolutions, I don't know. You're gonna rotate the crankshaft until it lines up and up, and no excessive force. It should rotate fairly smoothly. One rotation there. The up is now upside down. Second rotation there. Up is back in the up position, and the 2 lines on the camshaft are lining up with the head perfectly. Looks like we're good. Now we're gonna zip the crankshaft pulley back on and make sure we have that key in place. So we're looking pretty good. I think it's time to get the engine off the engine stand, and let's get it on the floor so we can start doing the flywheel and the clutch. Whew, this thing is heavy. I did the same process that I put it on the engine stand to take it off using my jack stand. And I have this thick blanket-like material. Underneath it is a box stuffed with a bunch of dirty rags. So it's cushioned, it's not touching the floor. Plus it has this blanket on it. So it's pretty unsteady. I'm definitely not gonna leave it like this. I have to do it this way in order to get the flywheel and the clutch on. And then once they're on, I might need help, maybe putting it back upright and get the engine hoist to pick it up off the ground, because I'm not picking this thing back up. One thing I did notice when inspecting the old flywheel was that it was in pretty bad shape. It had hot spots, it just wasn't even. I didn't want to have to deal with it. I could have got it resurfaced for 40 bucks, but a brand new flywheel was only $72.99. So I figured why go through the trouble of sending it out and getting resurfaced, we could just pick up a new flywheel, which is what I did. So we got a brand new flywheel here. The clutch set did come with a new pilot bearing, so we're gonna get that installed, and then we're gonna get it installed onto the engine. One thing to note is that these things are super oily, but they're similar to brake discs, where you could use brake cleaner to clean it off, and you're gonna wanna do that because you do not want oil on your mating surface of your clutch. This is the side that goes to the engine, and this is the side that the clutch will be mating on. But just for all intents and purposes, we're gonna clean both sides to make sure the whole flywheel is nice and clean. So generally you wanna use a rubber mallet to knock this down. I don't have one, and I don't feel like going to buy one. I've already spent enough money. So what we're gonna do is use a socket. You want a socket that's generally the same size or just a tiny bit smaller, mainly because you don't want to damage the flywheel when you're knocking it in, but you do want to knock it in on the metal piece of the bearing. So in our case, 7/8 is perfect. It goes right into the flywheel completely, and it also just barely sits on the metal piece of the outside of the bearing. So we're just gonna center this. We're gonna start by giving it a few soft taps. All right, going down nice and easy. And just take your time. Now the back of the flywheel does have a lip, so to make sure it's on all the way, just turn it around, and it looks like it's seating completely on the lip. So we should be good to install the flywheel. Now I did put on a fresh pair of gloves when I'm handling the flywheel, just to make sure I don't introduce any new oil onto it. Sits perfectly, pilot bearing is in, it's sitting on the lip, all the holes are lined up. Now let's get it secured with the ARP bolts. Once again, with ARP, they come with instructions and their own assembly lube. But there's a twist on this one. They're requesting to use Loctite 242, which I believe is the blue one, on the bolts. They want us to do that. I think it's part of their requirements to use their bolts. You do have to torque it a little higher too. Normally the flywheel bolts are torqued to 87 foot-pounds. With the ARP ones, you have to torque them to 95 foot-pounds, and you have to use the Loctite 242. Now I'm sure you could probably get away with not using it, but I want to do this the right way, so I'm going to run to the store and pick up some Loctite 242. We got the Loctite 242, the recommended thread locker from ARP. We're gonna get that on the threads of the bolts, and we're gonna get the flywheel installed. Just so you guys can see how it's done, the thread locker goes on the threads of the bolt, and then the assembly lube goes on the underhead of the bolt down here, so right at the base. And that's how ARP wants it done, so that's how we're gonna get it done. Now comes the difficult part, getting it torqued down. ARP says to torque it to 95 foot-pounds. I have the torque wrench here, it's already set to 95. We have the socket, the correct size, which is 12.19 millimeter. Now we just have to figure out a way to stop the flywheel from turning while we torque it. That was not a fun experience. Whew. So essentially I had to sit the engine right side up, put a breaker bar on the crankshaft on the timing side, and then with the breaker bar jamming it into the ground, I was able to steady the engine while standing over it and torque each bolt in a star pattern until this breaker bar clicked twice. Until this torque wrench clicked twice to make sure it was torqued properly. So all 6 bolts are now torqued. Oh my gosh. We're gonna hit this with some brake cleaner to make sure it's nice and clean. Clean it with a clean cloth. Now let's get the clutch on. So here's the new clutch, looking pretty nice. So you have this flat side here, and then you have this protruding side. The side that protrudes goes towards the transmission. Flat side sits on the engine side. So all we do is we're gonna take this clutch alignment tool, get it nice in there and snug, and then this is how we align the clutch. Just put it in that hole. Make sure it's all the way in, which it is. And that centers the clutch. Now we grab the pressure plate. Pressure plate should have 3 sections. Small hole here and then a bigger hole. On the flywheel, there's a dowel pin kind of, 3 dowel pins next to big holes. You're just gonna line up those small holes with the dowel pins. Don't forget, we gotta clean this side too. And just give it a nice wipe. And that pretty much keeps it exactly where it needs to be. So we got all the bolts hand tightened on the clutch pressure plate. Just gonna torque them down and then we should be good. The torque specs for the pressure plate is only 20 pounds. So you can essentially do it by holding the flywheel. I really wanted to get the transmission on today, but it looks like it's getting really dark outside. As you guys can see, the sun is down. Don't mind that M4. So we're gonna finish up for today and we're gonna have to get the transmission on next time. But I'm pretty happy with where we got. I had to run around and get a couple things. And you know, I'm still kind of doing this as I go and learning everything as I go. It's pretty crazy how things start to come together. It's starting to get exciting. I can't wait to see exactly how this turns out once it's done. We are building this car to give away for free on our channel to one lucky subscriber. All you have to do to enter is go to our website, ratedgtr.store, and sign up to our email list. Also be subscribed to the channel and like and comment on our videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.